Hello everyone, I hope you've had a great day so far and that you're doing well. For this video we'll be doing a unboxing and review of Deluxe class Autobot Mirage. I don't know why I included the Autobot. And this particular version of Mirage is from the Deluxe class mainline side of things for the Transformers Rise of the Beasts live action movie, which is due out in a few weeks. Longer if you're in Australia, although to be honest I've seen some conflicting dates, but anyway, besides the point. So Mirage will wrap up my unboxing and reviews of the Deluxe class wave, at least that I'm aware of. Was actually very lucky to find him within the past week or so, but I'm still missing some of the other things, like I think there's the Mirage Battle Changer, the RC Beast Weaponizer, and I think there's the Scourge and Scorponok Beast Combiner. But they'll come up in the near future, that's not a problem. But after Mirage I will start delving into the 3 Voyager classes. Anyway, here we have Mirage, similar to Wheeljack, very contentious iteration of Mirage, so I'll do the disclaimer now. I'm only going to focus on the figure. My general thoughts about Mirage, his character, his presentation in the movie, and everything in between, I will keep to myself. I appreciate it can be a very polarizing subject. So that's that. Anyway, figure. Front of the box, CGI art of Mirage. We also have the Mirage figure there through the plastic-less window. Looking pretty okay. Be interesting to see how he looks once I get him out of the box. Otherwise it's pretty much your stock standard packaging. In terms of the back, we do have Mirage in his robot mode and his vehicle mode, 24-step conversion. Now I'm going to assume this particular image of Mirage is just not doing him any form of justice. His vehicle mode looks better, but just some of the angling here, so time will tell if it's, in case of Mirage, is very blocky or something else. So now we've had a look at the external packaging, time to get Mirage out and have a better look at what he's all about. And with Mirage out of his packaging, so we have the usual single accessory, Mirage himself, and his manual. So we'll come back to the accessory in a minute. I have tried to just double check that Mirage is semi-presentable, and I think he is, given my slight embarrassment with Razor, but things happen. Manual. Going through the manual, so pretty much your standard how to attach accessory, and then going through the transformation steps, and well, we will see. We will definitely see. Yeah, I don't know, he feels like he's just a weird shell former that just goes around and wraps around a robot. But yes, as I said, we'll see. His weapon also will attach to the back of his alt mode, which actually isn't too bad, for your extra storage. Now I will admit it does look like there should be a lot of tabbing for the transformation process, so he should have a fairly sturdy vehicle mode once we get there. So, manual. Will I need that later? Probably. His one accessory, so similar to Wheeljack, he's only sporting the one, and it looks like this accessory is pretty much one of those simple put it into the hand, because his hand is supposed to transform into it. So, picking a hand, mainly his right hand, that is pretty much Mirage with his accessory. I find Bumblebee was a bit more subtle with his, whereas if you look at Mirage, not as subtle. But that's okay. But overall, not a problem. Oh, I do wonder, are you going to be able to go into the other hand? The answer is yes. Doesn't look as good, but it is feasible. So that was the accessory. I can never get it out. Okay. So now that we've had a quick look at your accessory, Mirage, will you stand your own 2 feet? Yes, yes you will, which is always a good thing. So, Mirage, from the front, the side, the back, we do have a bit of kibbling, which isn't terrible, but it's not great either. And from the other side, we do have some of this little shoulder kibble as well. In terms of a bit of a close-up, so detailing wise, I will admit, for the figure, the detailing is quite nice. It's interesting how for Mirage they did more of the battle mask view for his head. Now in terms of colours, so we're sporting a good amount of grey, bit of blue, black, definitely some metallic accents and things like that. So overall, colours are definitely quite complementary. We do have some lighter blues as well for some of the wind screen visors and things like that, and the front headlights. So overall, not too bad on the color scheme. Like everything, as I said, it just does seem to complement quite well, so nothing seems too overly outlandish. Now, as I mentioned earlier when we were having the quick 360 random, there's a bit of kibble. It's not too bad. I mean, this kibbling for his alt mode does tuck in quite nicely, which is always a good thing. And even the kibble on his back for his legs and things like that, it's actually quite flush, and I will admit, does combine to be more form than just random parking of bits, so it's actually not too bad. Even the bits on the shoulders, I mean, yes, they're more prone to moving around, do try to stay relatively flush. So yes, Mirage has kibble, but it's not too bad. Like, you can probably get away with it, knowing that it's there. Okay, now that we've had a look at the basics of Mirage, what can you do? Well, your head can definitely do a nice 360 spin around. There'll be some very minor head tilting, and that's about it. But either way, having a nice spin on the head is always a good thing. In terms of the arms, definitely get a full 360 there at the shoulder joint. The arm will also be able to go all the way out to the side as well. And because it can do the 360, go out to the front, go out to the back. Yes, I did accidentally untab at the back, but that's not too bad. So in terms of the shoulder, it's pretty much your standard level of the articulation. We do have a nice 360 swivel just above the elbow, which seems to be the norm for a lot of these figures. We will also have a standard 90-degree bend at the elbow, and there will be some movement here at the wrist. Now, how much of that you use is subject to you. If you use too much, it does look very weird. If you use a little bit, it's not too bad. So that is actually very nice to have some of that wrist movement, but I suspect that's just to facilitate transformation, especially if that's the front of his alt mode. There is no way you'd want those still pointing out to the front. So that's the arms. In terms of the waist, yes, there is a waist swivel. In fact, there's a full 360 waist swivel, so that's always a nice little blessing. In terms of the legs, probably about a 75-degree split, because the top of the thighs will start basically impacting the waist. And if you do it too much, you can also pull entire bits off their socket. That's not too bad. In terms of the leg articulation, they can go all the way forward. It can kind of go all the way back. Probably realistically it'll only go that far back because of this back kibble. We already know about it going to the side. Now, this is going to be very interesting because it's not the traditional... seem to have a random visitor of some moth variety. Hello, friend. How are you? You're just going to chill there? Cool. You chill there, and I'm going to continue doing this random video. People probably now think I'm crazy. Anyway. No, my friend doesn't want to chill. Anyway, going back to this interesting knee. So, unlike most normal figures, it's an interesting... It looks like it's a weird double knee. So, I guess if we just have a look at some of the upper leg articulation first. So the leg will be able to do a little bit of this swivel here at the top. Not too much, so you can definitely do some going to the side if you want to do some dynamic posing. But in terms of this knee, so the knee actually can go up like that, and there's still a bit of an extra knee here. Now, most of that is probably transformation related, as opposed to, hey, here have a weird double jointed knee. But that, yeah, there you go. That's the knee, and it is one of those little, I really need to figure out the correct term, but it's those ones that basically have the little sockety type feel about them, as opposed to being a free range, flowing, moving knee. Which possibly is probably one of the few times that type of system actually works, because it means you can actually lock the leg into a particular position. So that is the very funky knee design and the lower knee. So yeah, I'm on the fence about this. In terms of the foot though, and the lower leg, so there's not going to be much spin there. I thought there was going to be some foot movement, but there is no foot movement. So most of your movement for the lower legs will be done at the waist, well, the hips to be more correct, or the very interesting knee joint thing. So that's a bit of a rundown of the articulation and look of Mirage. Very interesting to say the least. As I said, I'm on the fence about the knees. They don't seem terrible, but different is probably the best way of describing them. So now that the robot mode has pretty much been covered, time to transform him into his alt mode, have a quick look at that, and then I will do a bit of a sound off on my final thoughts on Mirage. And with Mirage now in his alt mode, transformation actually wasn't too bad. It's definitely one of those, especially for the first shot or second shot, if you just follow it step by step in the manual, and I know not everyone does that, but I thought it actually was fairly intuitive, just going step by step. The only bit that I thought was a little bit not confusing, but I thought was going to be a bit of an issue, was pretty much putting the roof down onto the actual mode itself. In fact, it gave me a bit of a weird flashback to B127 from the Studio Series figure. But it actually wasn't too bad. There's a lot of tabbing which actually does go a long way, so I can actually do this, and Jazz is actually going, not Jazz, although you're thinking it, Mirage will obviously not start flicking out pieces left, right and center. I've also attached the weapon onto the back as well. And like how I said, the tabbing is not too bad, only to see some of the tabbing at the back untab. Anyway, transformation, definitely not too bad. So, Mirage from the front, the side, the back if I actually take off the accessory, which I'll probably just keep off for the time being. The other side, just fix up some of that tabbing from the top and from the bottom. From a bottom perspective, everything actually does look quite neat. So the legs are here, arms are up here as well. It actually does work fairly well. In terms of articulation, being a automobile, so his wheels will definitely move. It's a shame about the colouring because the rims are nice, but I wouldn't have thought having the tyres in grey would have been a good move. But each of these wheels are independent, and for the most part you can move Mirage front and back, and that's pretty much all the articulation that will be in the figure. Not completely unsurprising. Colours wise, so he does sport more of the grey in this particular instance compared to his robot mode. He does have some of these nice metallic blue bits and pieces, trims, etc. coming through, which does add a bit of colour. Some extra colours for rear lights and front lights. He does have a nice Autobot insignia emblazoned on the front of his vehicle mode. So overall, looks wise he actually isn't too bad. And as I mentioned before, I'm not going to go into the whole characterization of Mirage because this would be one of those weird contentious points, and this is not the video for it. So yes, keeping it restricted to the figure, the vehicle mode actually isn't too bad. It's definitely quite solid. Like it definitely has some of the same solidness as Wheeljack. Bumblebee, well, suffice to say, I think of the 3 Autobots, Bumblebee just did terrible alt mode wise, and for other reasons as well. So that is Mirage in his alt mode, and yeah. So, final thoughts about Mirage. Robot mode, definitely not too bad. Articulation is pretty much your stock standard level. There wasn't anything that was overly mind-blowingly awesome, but there wasn't anything that seemed overly lesser than what you would expect for this particular deluxe class. On that note, the knees, I'm still not too sure how they will go. Definitely fancy sitting on that. I won't know more until I start doing dynamic poses and things like that, which will be well after the initial recording of the unboxing and review. So that remains to be seen. I might have it as one of my pros and cons of the figure when the time comes. So the knees, jury's out. Everything else definitely isn't too bad. The colours are nice, and he does seem to have a decent degree of playability. So robot mode, it's not terrible. It's definitely not super duper fantastic, but it's definitely not too bad. Best thing is, he did feel much more robust and sturdy compared to Bumblebee of the same line. Bumblebee is just terrible as an understatement, but anyway. Transformation, as I mentioned before, wasn't too bad. The first few times, if you follow through the manual, will definitely make a lot of sense, and then after a while it'll be just pure memory back of your mind. And I do like how everything does ultimately tab in quite nicely together, which does help. So when you transform into the vehicle mode will be very secure. It's not going to have loose bits of arms, limbs and everything floating around. And even the scaling of the figure, everything tucks away quite nicely. Unlike the aforementioned Bumblebee, who has some very offensive components at the back of his alt mode. But Mirage does quite well on the alt mode department. Everything's very nice and flush and tight. And to be honest, I'd say I'd be hard pressed to pick a preference between Mirage and Wheeljack on account of their vehicle mode for their figure, just to make sure we're clear on that. So overall, definitely not too bad. Interesting how Mirage only comes with 1 accessory. Wheeljack was the same, everyone else had at least 2, but it's not too bad. I think I can live with the single accessory in this case. So overall, Mirage as a deluxe class from the main line is actually not too bad. Everything's pretty much what you would expect for a deluxe class. Playability, articulation, things like that. Visual aesthetic definitely isn't too bad either. And there wasn't really anything that really stuck out as this is going to be a terrible figure. Unlike Bumblebee, who I've mentioned about 3 or 4 times now. So I think there will be a Studio Series Mirage later down the track. I think it's been tentatively announced. But in terms of the main line, it's definitely not too bad. At some point in time, I might not do it as a video though. I might do like my preferences of the Rise of the Beast Deluxes. Just for the sake of doing it. It could even also be a community post. Once again, I haven't decided yet. But that'll always be interesting, and I appreciate that people have different perspectives on things. So what I have as my 1 to 6 may not necessarily be the same as someone else. With that being said, I actually would be okay to recommend picking up Mirage from the mainline. He does have a few good things going about him, and yeah, up until we get the Studio Series one, it's not bad to have in the collection. And yeah, I'm actually pretty okay with it. So that basically means out of 6 deluxes, 5 of them have been okay, 1 of them has been absolutely dreadful. Won't mention names, but I have mentioned it a few times. So that'll bring us to the end of the unboxing and review of Deluxe Class Mirage, as well as the last of the Deluxes for the Rise of the Beasts wave, as far as I know. It's definitely been fun going through all these unboxing reviews of the Deluxe figures, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, right after this, well, not directly right after this, but timeline-wise, I will be moving into the 3 Voyages. I haven't decided who's first off the rank. I suspect it will either be Primal or Rhinox, and I might leave Optimus last of the 3. We'll see. Once again, haven't decided. Time will tell, you'll find out. Thank you very much for watching this unboxing and review video. Feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the content. All of this does help support the channel, and I do greatly appreciate it. Extra content can also be found on my Instagram account. Link to that is in the description below. And if by chance you're still listening to this video at this point in time, you will already know that there was a supplementary short of Mirage that was released at the same time that this video was published. So just a few quick little shots of Mirage with less talking. Stay safe and take care, everyone, and I will catch you all in one of the future Rise of the Beasts unboxing review videos. Otherwise, I will catch you around on some other piece of content on the channel.